On the evening of March 22nd, 2018, police received a strange call from an old farmer. The dairy farmer, Don Sipple, states that a hysterical and bloodied young woman frantically banged on his front door and is begging for a doctor. This call would eventually lead to a shocking and twisted true crime investigation.
County 911, what's the address of the emergency?
This is Don Sipple calling, and I have a young lady that just came to my house, and somebody attacked her, and she needs a doctor. Her clothes are all torn,
And what is the address you're located at?
E7614, 430th Avenue.
Okay. And is she injured?
Yeah, she's injured. Her mouth is kind of got some blood around it, and her clothes are all torn.
Okay. And she's by herself?
She's by herself. She walked to my house here just recently.
Okay. And can you ask her what her name is?
Just hold on a second.
Okay.
What's your name, ma'am? What? You don't know? She's in kind of bad shape. She just says she don't know.
Okay. Let me put you on hold. Do not hang up. I'm going to start some help, okay?
Sure.
After hearing the emergency call from Don Sipple, it becomes clear that something terrible has happened. Don had found a young woman covered in mud, blood, and bruises wandering on his farm property, and she appeared to be confused. Law enforcement was quickly called to the scene, where they met the same confused young woman identified as 20-year-old Ezra McCandless.
Where are all you hurting from right now? Everywhere?
Ezra's story was shocking and bizarre. When officers asked her what exactly happened, Ezra told them that all she could currently remember was that an ex-boyfriend named Alex had attacked her, and then suddenly she was on this farm.
Yeah.
Getting you the stuff that you need, the medication that you need to make you feel better.
I'm trying so hard in my head trying to get things to come to me, but it's just like it keeps getting blocked out and blocked out.
Okay. I've got some of this stuff, but
Yeah.
why don't you tell me about yesterday, what you remember?
Yesterday I got up in the morning and I got done looking at, because I've been journaling a lot,
Okay.
and I got up and I looked at the journals I was journaling and starting to journal.
Where are those journals at?
My computer, if you guys want it.
But, where are they located?
Google Docs.
Ezra was then taken to a nearby hospital, where she repeatedly requested that detectives contact a man named Jason Mangle for her. She stated that he was another ex-boyfriend, who she wanted by her side during this traumatic event. While some officers waited alongside Ezra, others were dispatched to search the area surrounding Don's farm for any sign of Alex. They also tried to call Alex, check his residence, and contact his parents, but Alex was nowhere to be found. Because of this, officers decided to question Ezra even more while she was at the hospital. At first, she was too emotional to answer any questions, but she eventually regained her composure.
I don't know. I'm trying so hard in my head trying to get things to come to me, but it's like it keeps getting blocked out and blocked out.
Ezra stuck to this story throughout the evening and into the next morning, claiming that she only had glimpses of memories in her mind of Alex attacking her. But as the investigation continued, officers grew increasingly suspicious of her story. The next morning, investigators returned to the area surrounding Don's property to search for any evidence of Alex. As they passed by a gated property that appeared to have footprints leading down a dirt path, they decided to step out of their vehicle and walk down this dirt path. It was there that they made a gruesome discovery. Alex's body was hanging partially out of Ezra's car, covered in blood and stab wounds. At that moment, officers knew that the case was about to become even more complicated and messy. They immediately began conducting research on Alex and Ezra's backgrounds. To fully understand the events that led to Alex's death, we need to go back around 10 months. At the beginning of 2017, Ezra McCandless met a man named Jason Mangle, a military reserve medic. He was 13 years older than her. Despite the age gap, the two hit it off immediately, bonded by their shared love of adventure and spontaneity. They moved in together after just over a month of dating, and became nearly inseparable, doing nearly everything together. During the 8 months, they had a favorite coffee shop in downtown Eau Claire called Racy's, which they frequented on a regular basis. During that time, they met a young man named Alex Woodworth at a bar. Coincidentally, Alex worked in the coffee shop and lived only a couple blocks away from it. He was known to be very chatty, nerdy, kind-hearted, and very into philosophy. He was also a frequent churchgoer who loved to help others, be it animals or people. All three of them connected right away. Alex and Jason became very close friends, and Ezra and Alex became a little bit more than that. Ezra maintained her relationship with Jason while also keeping up a secret relationship with Alex. And their relationship went from what can be described as vanilla to experimental BDSM very quickly. However, Jason eventually found out about their entanglement and confronted both Ezra and Alex.
Yeah, and then I got into an entanglement with...
After that, Jason and Alex remained friends. But Ezra decided to break it off with both men, though she was in no rush to move out of Jason's apartment. Now, fast forward to March 1st, 2018. Just 3 weeks before the discovery of Alex's body, Jason returned home from a 2-week military training exercise and found Ezra in a frantic and emotional state. She was crying profusely and could barely speak. Ezra stated that while Jason was away, she went drinking with one of his friends. During that night, his friend assaulted and took advantage of her. As soon they both got drunk. She said that, at some point, she realized that she had consumed too much alcohol and started drifting in and out of consciousness. She then felt herself being carried up to a bed before blacking out entirely. This situation was loaded with tension, and she knew that Jason's reaction could be unpredictable. Overwhelmed with her emotions, she decided to first discuss the matter with Alex, who she trusted. On another evening, she went to Alex to talk about this horrible incident, but during that time he tried to make a move on her. This time she felt that she was being taken advantage of once again, mainly due to her emotional state. After hearing all of this, Jason was infuriated, even though he and Ezra had already broken up. Ezra was still living with him, and he felt that they were still close. He was outraged that his close friend had done such a thing. He immediately drove both himself and Ezra to the police to file a report. Ezra had taken part in an interview regarding this encounter.
Started getting really tipsy. He kept telling me to be quiet, like she kept shushing me. It's really scary.
Okay.
As the investigation into the claims made by Ezra McCandless began, officers went through Ezra's phone and text message history, spoke to both Jason and Alex, and sifted through all the evidence they could find. What they uncovered was shocking. Text messages between Ezra and this other friend showed that she may have been fairly suggestive with him. In fact, past messages alluded to a previous sexual encounter between the two, casting doubt on Ezra's claims. When the officers confronted Jason with the information that they had uncovered, Jason admitted that he was aware that the two had slept together in the past, but based on her story, he felt that this time was different.
I'm under the impression, why would you keep talking to someone who assaulted you? But also, the night that I found out about all this stuff from her, I had talked to Jonathan. I was like, hey, so what the heck happened, man? What's going on? And he said nothing happened. We never had sex. He said all these things to me. I was like, okay, cool. Well, this is what she said to me on my phone. I was so confused. She was up and down and left and right. And I was like, I don't know what's going on anymore.
Were you seeing any other girls during that time?
No. I think I was pretty much now a single.
So basically she's kind of keeping you here for stability, maybe?
I think she was still pandering to me or something, trying to keep me in case things didn't work out either way. So I was I was being naive. My roommate says I get fucking invested in people because I get emotionally involved. The whole crew in the back of Racy's, it's a lot of close guys, and it's just like I had freaking guys come up to me and be like, "Oh, so is Alex done with her now? Is she single again?" And it was just like, you guys are fucking horrible people, man. Like, these are people's lives. Like, you know, you got John and Alex and all of them. It's like, you don't even mess around with each other enough. Like, maybe you guys are mentally strong, but like, you play like these manipulative games with each other, and like this existential, nonsensical, like, nothing matters, man. Like, that's not healthy, dude. Like, you push people around and you mess with their heads too much, they're gonna break, you know?
It's possible that the friend group was toxic and manipulative, given the behaviors exhibited by some of the individuals involved. Furthermore, the toxic and manipulative behaviors within the group may have been perpetuated by a culture of competition and power struggles. In such a culture, individuals may feel the need to assert dominance over others, engage in manipulation and deceit, and seek attention and recognition in order to establish themselves as powerful and important members of the group. In a social group context, casual hookups and nihilism can contribute to a culture of hedonism, where individuals prioritize their immediate pleasure over their long-term well-being or that of others. This can lead to a lack of empathy, respect, and trust among group members, as they may view each other primarily as means to satisfy their desires. Moreover, a culture of nihilism can undermine the group's sense of identity, purpose, and cohesion, as members may struggle to find shared values or goals that give meaning to their interactions.
Brian, know that or not? I bore you guys.
No,
I'm a weird dude, man. We had a lot of good information for us.
So you cleared up a lot of things that we at least had questions for. Appreciate you giving us a.
Oh, yeah. I didn't expect to be done with work so early. I don't know what the heck's going on. One of the kids apparently crashed one of the vehicles, and then some other stuff's happening with one of them, so they don't have enough vehicles now, so.
Is it seasonal then, or are you going to stay on? Or?
I might stay on. I guess it all depends on what. I mean,
The money's got to be good.
the money's good, but like, I don't want to turn down a chance to like go to check out the Ukraine if they do offer me a Ukraine deployment, and like, I don't know, it's just something to do and change the pace. I like being able to get out of town once in a while. Fresh perspectives on things. Going to Louisiana was great.
And the drive to Florida probably wasn't too bad.
I mean, in a Humvee.
When the officer spoke to Alex, he claimed that Ezra had admitted to him that the encounter with the other guy was totally consensual. However, she regretted it the minute she left and decided to spin the narrative. After that, the officers had no choice but to drop the case, leaving Ezra understandably upset with Alex. To make matters worse, Jason kicked Ezra out of their home, accusing her of playing mind games and causing constant stress. She had no choice but to pack her bags and move back in with her parents. Which brings us back to March 22nd, 2018, the same day that Ezra showed up on Don's farm. On that day, Jason was at a coffee shop watching a game when all of a sudden Ezra appears. Jason is caught off guard. He was not expecting to see her so soon, after all that. But she appeared to have other plans in mind. Jason also notices that she has a very scary look in her eyes, so he approaches her and says, "Hey, what are you doing here?" Ezra replies, "Oh, I'm just here to see Alex. We're going to hang out and talk about things, and I want to show him some art that I've done, and that I'm back to being my old self." She then leaves, walks to her car, and drives over to Alex. At this point, Jason is growing increasingly concerned, as he was aware just how upset Ezra was with Alex. He also felt that her demeanor was very intense, so as Ezra headed on her way to Alex, Jason decided that he should hop on his bike and ride over to Alex's himself, to keep an eye on the situation and ensure that nothing bad happens between them. In an unlucky turn of events, a janitor witnessed Jason riding his bike around the building and felt that he looked suspicious. So he called the police. Minutes later, an officer arrived on the scene, which gives us an inside look into exactly what happened during that time.
You said they saw you park your bike over here?
Yeah.
And then walk over there, look
Yeah.
around in that car. Do you know that person that lives there?
It's my girlfriend's car, or my
Okay.
ex-girlfriend. We're kind of in a situation, and when she talked to me this morning, I was worried because the guy that lives there is involved in an assault case that she's with, Or
I mean, she's the victim of?
she's the victim of an assault that happened, and when she went to him for consolement, I was gone on military orders.
Okay.
She went to him to talk to him about stuff, and then he kind of took advantage of her too, and she wanted to talk to him, I think today, about some stuff, and I was paranoid because she had like fire in her eyes.
Okay.
So
Who's the girlfriend?
Ezra McCandless.
Okay.
I was just worried because, like,
Was the door standing open over there when you got there on the car?
I knocked like 3 times. I didn't hear anything. I didn't hear a scuffle or
Okay.
anything. So knocked, yelled, opened the door, and I heard her say, "Let him help you. Let him help you." So then I said, "Hey, is everything okay? Is everyone all right now?" I mean, I'm a medic in the military, so like, I was paranoid. I was paranoid that someone was going to do something irrational.
Okay. And they're in the house on the corner here, or?
Yeah, they're on. I think they're fine though. I mean, I don't know. I'm just.
I just saw the door to the car was standing open too.
Yeah, I wanted to turn her car off. Her car was running, so that's why I was like worried because it was running, and I was like, okay, what's going on? Like, what's going on? Is everything okay?
Okay. Do you have any ID with you?
Yeah. I don't think he's dangerous, but I don't know.
Do you know what his name is?
Alex Woodsworth?
Okay.
Or I think it's Woodsworth or Woodsworth.
Okay. You can go over by your bike. Hi. Is everything okay here?
Yeah.
Okay. Somebody called us kind of worried because they saw Jason come over here and he was going in the car and they weren't sure what was going on.
No. Everything's fine.
Everything's fine? Okay. Do you guys have any ID with you?
Yeah.
I got to write a report here that I came over and talked with you guys. They were just a little worried because they saw the car running over here and they weren't sure what was going on and all that jazz.
Sorry for all this,
It's okay. It's okay. I'd rather come here and check and it be nothing than have something bad happening.
Officers believe that the situation doesn't require further police involvement. So after checking everyone's identification, the officers were on their way. The most disturbing aspect of this footage is that Jason can be seen entering the frame and having his final conversation with Alex before the second police cruiser drives away. And this was the last time that Alex was seen alive. Less than 24 hours later, Alex was dead, and Ezra was in the hospital. After the investigators told Ezra that they had found Alex's body, she suddenly regained her memory. Now, officers were suspicious of Ezra's immediate recall of her memories, as well as the timing of it, considering that it occurred right after the discovery of Alex's body. Because at first she claimed to have no memory of what happened and didn't know where Alex was. Ezra states that while Alex was driving, he pulled a knife on her and grabbed her left arm. He then used the knife to cut the word boy into her arm.
He started carving something into my arm. He used to call me boy a lot and stuff like that. And I was just kind of I don't really identify that way anymore.
Officers then examined the wound on her arm and quickly realized that her story didn't make any sense. She claimed that Alex was in the driver's seat while she was in the front passenger seat, and that Alex used his right arm to grab her left arm and begin carving. However, if that were the case, it would only make sense that Ezra's arm was extended while Alex made these cuts. That would result in the word boy being flipped. Officers then confronted Ezra and asked if she had made the injury to herself.
He didn't do that to you, did he? You carved the boy into your own arm. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When did that happen?
That happened when I was in the car.
In the car with him? Or what? When
I was in the car after I woke up the second time.
It seems that after being confronted by officers about the inconsistency in her story, Ezra's memory was rebooted, and she suddenly began to recall new details about the incident. She claimed that after pulling over in the field, she and Alex ended up in the back of the car. While hanging out there, Alex made a move on her, but when Ezra didn't reciprocate, Alex pulled out a knife and started cutting Ezra's pants.
He started cutting my pants open and stuff, and I didn't know what to do, and it was really scary. He just kept trying to attack me, and I didn't know what to do.
Okay.
And it was the scariest thing I've ever experienced in my life.
Ezra stated that she grabbed the knife blade with an extreme grip, managed to take it out of Alex's hand, and then did whatever she needed to defend herself and escape the situation.
He kept trying to grab me in the back of the car, so I just started to defend myself as fast as I could.
You said you had the knife. Where were you cutting him?
I just was going anywhere and everywhere I could.
Okay.
He just kept grabbing me and grabbing me and grabbing me.
Afterwards, she was taken to the police station to complete her statement, at which she described the whole sequence of events as she remembered them. However, her story was starting to get a little bit twisted.
So that was prior to him grabbing onto you? Oh, okay. All right.
So then he stabs. So then you get the knife away from him and you're kicking him. Where's the first place you think you stabbed him?
I think the first place I stabbed him was in the head.
Okay. Okay, and then walk me through the order you think you stabbed him.
I think I stabbed him in the head, and then he just kept grabbing me.
Okay.
So I think I stabbed him in like this leg by the genital region, and then the stomach and the sides and stuff like that. Because I remember being pushed against, because I was moving in the back seat, and I remember being pushed against the middle console and just going. And then I remember stabbing in this region, inside the chest and neck region, and then...
Was that outside the car?
That was inside the car. And then I fell, because my shoes fell off, because I was kicking and everything, and he got out of the car. And then he went to grab me again, and I stabbed him in like the side by the ribs and stuff. And then it's like after that I just couldn't breathe, and I just started breathing, and then it just got really dark and scary. And I woke up and I peed my pants and everything, and I didn't know what was going on, and he was just laying there, so I started running.
Okay. And at no time, did you try to move the body at all? Did you try to move it from, did you drive the body out there to dump it? Did this take place someplace else?
No.
And you're just now, how come you didn't tell me this yesterday when we talked, Ezra?
Because I didn't, it's too scary.
I know it's scary, but we needed the truth, right? See, it's better to come and tell us the truth so we know what happened.
Because it's just so scary and I can't get it out of my head.
No. And we're sorry that you went through this.
And it just keeps replaying. I wish it would go away.
Have you talked to any of the doctors about this? What happened?
No.
Okay, well, that's probably going to be a good place to talk. Okay. When you were stabbing him, were you trying to kill him?
I just wanted him to go away.
Okay.
I wanted to go away. But everything happened there, and most of it took place outside the car. Okay, and you don't know how he got back in the car? No. When I left and I ran, he was outside. Okay. When he was stabbed, where do you think you stabbed him? I think I stabbed him in the legs and in the head and then like the chest and stuff. Okay. Did you cut his throat, like slice across his throat at all? I think so. I think I went to stab him and it like stabbed him in the neck and stuff like that. And then I think I got him in the chest a few times and stuff, but I think I got him in the leg too. Okay.
Crime scene analysts soon developed their theory of how the altercation took place based on the evidence they found at the crime scene. The largest amount of blood was discovered on the ground outside the car, which contradicts everything what she states happened inside the car. Additionally, there were no defensive wounds on Alex's body, indicating that he was caught off guard entirely when he was stabbed. The amount of wounds on Alex's body was excessive, with over 15 stab wounds and extensive mutilation on his genitalia. Another big problem was that Ezra claimed that she grabbed the knife by the blade during Alex's attack and managed to muscle it out of his hands. Despite Ezra's claims that she grabbed the knife by the blade and took it out of his hands, the wounds on her hands were only superficial. The investigation team concluded that this aspect of Ezra's was highly unlikely. Based on the crime scene evidence combined with the injuries sustained by both Alex and Ezra, investigators believed that this was likely a premeditated murder, with an unsuccessful attempt at covering it up. Following this interview, Ezra McCandless was charged with first-degree premeditated homicide of Alex Woodworth. Her trial began 18 months later in October 2019. However, instead of being the traumatized and broken person that we witnessed throughout most of her police interactions, she now appeared contempt, calloused, and, in a twisted way, even appeared to be a bit proud. During the trial, her ex-boyfriend Jason testified, and as he approached the bench, Ezra seemed to be flustered by his presence. She lost all professionalism and appeared to simply adore him, cracking smiles and making awkward, intimate eye contact as he answered questions. During Jason's testimony, Ezra continued to manipulate the situation. At one point, she even removed her pink blazer to reveal a cardigan that Jason had bought for her during their relationship. Jason was shocked, but he finished his questioning. In a surprising and questionable decision by the defense, Ezra was then called to the stand to testify. During her testimony, Ezra displayed a complete lack of remorse, guilt, or grief for the loss of someone she once called her boyfriend. Instead, she continued to smile and answer each question with her head held high, almost as if she was enjoying herself.
Good morning. Would you state your name and spell it for the record, please?
My name is Ezra McCandless. EzraMcCandless.
Okay, Ezra, I'm going to ask you to speak really clearly into the microphone because you're soft-spoken.
Yes.
Okay. So everybody can hear you. All right?
All right.
I guess the first question I'm going to ask you is, why Ezra McCandless? Why that name?
Why Ezra McCandless? Well, I have gone through a lot of changes in my life regarding identity and what really fits me. And I tried on a few names, but I found ultimately that Ezra fit perfectly for who I am.
What was your birth name?
My birth name was Monica J.
And did your name eventually become the last name Carlin?
Yes.
Okay. So why did you decide why you changed your last name?
I changed my last name, not to change my last name because of family's sake, but I changed it because of the name McCandless is from an individual named Christopher McCandless from Into the Wild he's known for. And his love for nature, his philosophies for life, they were very in tune and aligned with who I am. So I honored him by taking his last name.
And what about, and Into the Wild, just everybody might not know what it is, just in a sentence, tell us.
It's a novel, it's a book he wrote.
I'm going to ask you about meeting Alex.
All right. Yes.
Why don't you tell us how you met Alex Woodworth?
I met Alex Woodworth one night when I noticed him. He was writing alone inside a bar called The Joint. He just seemed very focused, and I thought it was interesting that he was alone amongst all these people, so focused on his writing. Alex and I started slow. We held hands, we hugged, and we shared a few kisses, and then eventually we became partners. I encouraged him to explore himself and things he might want. And we started practicing and doing these new things that he wanted. I took the role of submissive. It turned into what at times could be considered a BDSM relationship.
Was there ever a time back in your relationship in January or February where Alex used a knife when having with you?
Yes, he had cut a pair of my pants.
Ezra's attorney continued down this path of questioning, giving her the opportunity to describe, in vivid detail, how she felt during Alex's interests progressed. Despite the questioning eventually shifted to a darker tone, her smiley and proud demeanor remained unchanged. Ezra's story also slightly changed during her testimony. Now, instead of her grabbing the knife by the blade, she was actually able to free it from his hands with a different technique.
I decided then to knee him in the groin, and he drops the knife at that point. Instantly, I grabbed the knife. I started stabbing him anywhere and everywhere I could.
What are you trying to do?
I just want to get away. I need to get out of the car. I need to get away as fast as I could.
So why do you keep stabbing him while you're still in the car?
Because he wouldn't let go. He wouldn't let me out. I was terrified.
After several medical experts and crime scene analysts testified, the prosecution argued that Ezra premeditatedly murdered Alex out of revenge and then staged the crime scene to make it look like self-defense. The defense, however, argued that Alex was the aggressor and forced himself onto Ezra, leading to a traumatic response and self-defense. After the trial, the jury deliberated for only 3 hours before returning with a verdict. This moment captured on camera shows Ezra's stunned expression and realization that all her manipulations and mind games led to this exact moment.
We, the jury, find the defendant, Ezra J. McCandless, guilty of first-degree intentional homicide as charged in the information. And the answer to the special verdict question is yes, used a dangerous weapon. Again, you may be seated. All right, ladies and gentlemen, is this your verdict? All right, I'm going to do what's called polling the jury, and I'm going to ask each of you if this is your verdict. And I'm going to ask you by your juror number.
Ezra McCandless was found guilty of the first-degree intentionally homicide of Alex Woodworth. And on February 7th, 2020, she was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole after 50 years.
McCandless, is there anything you'd like to say?
Hi. I would like to address Your Honor and the courts and Alex's family, but most of all, Alex's parents. I want to say how sorry I am that they have lost their son. But sorry doesn't cut it in my mind. That word is not enough and never will be enough for this loss. And I recognize that. I don't think I could ever find words that will be enough to express this, especially to them. The pain they feel is unimaginable. I want to express how sorry I am for this loss, because it is such a great loss. I recognize and completely acknowledge this pain, and I'm so sorry. I loved Alex very much, and I also feel a great loss. And I'm so sorry. And thank you for letting me say this.